Good morning, welcome to Matt Outdoors. So a bit of a change of pace today. Today I brought you down to my local allotments. About 2.5 months ago I was lucky enough to actually get access to my own allotment. So I'd just like to share some of my experiences with you, what's gone well, what's not gone so well, and just some sort of little tips and tricks I picked up along the way. So they did offer me one of these large plots over here. These are full-size plots. It's fine if you're retired and you've got lots of time on your hands, but you just need to be prepared to spend a lot of time down there clearing ground, weeding, looking after your plants and all the rest of it. So they showed me a few different plots. I opted for a quarter-sized one in the end, so smaller than your average, purely because I work full-time, and realistically I've only got so many hours a week spare in which to come down and have a look and clear up the weeds, water the plants and all the good stuff. So this is my local one. There's about 33 plots. Mine's the last one, 33B. It's the place to be. So I say this started off about 2.5 months ago. If I've done my homework correctly, I should be able to splice in a picture of what it did look like when I first took it on. So hopefully round about now you should be able to see what I had originally. So 2.5 months down the line, after a lot of work, just on this right hand side is my plot, 33B. So I'll just run you around what we've got planted at the moment, and then what I'll do is I'll set you up on the tripod and just have a little chat with you and just sort of tell you about my experiences whilst I've been down here. Excuse me. So right off the bat we got some Stuttgarter onions. These are they're growing. They're not as big as some people's, but I think I put them in possibly a little bit late. You can see the wind snapped off some of the stems on it. It doesn't seem to make an awful lot of difference. They seem to be growing just fine. So these are some strawberry plants. Collected these free to collect from Gumtree. Just moved them in the back of the car and away we went. In this bed then we've got some runner beans. Father-in-law started them off in his greenhouse for us, so they're just starting to take now. This stuff is garlic. So we just bought a bulb of garlic from the supermarket that you'd use for cooking. And all you do is you stick 1 clove into a pot of compost, bung it on the windowsill, and this is what you get. It just starts shooting up all on its own. Good stuff. So we got some tomato plants Mrs. Bear put in. Inside here then, I'll just lift the net for you. We've got some cabbage plants. We've got in the middle we've got some potatoes. Right at the back we've got some Swiss chard and we've got some spinach. Okay. This bed at back we're not using at the moment. I've just dug this one out, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that one just yet. So in this little bed here we've got some fruit trees. I don't know what they are yet because they're here when I moved in. So if anybody knows what they are, some of the berries, just let me know. I'd love to know what they are. Then we've also got some rhubarb. That was there when I moved in. That stuff just refuses to die. We've got some lavender. We've got some, I think that's possibly mint. But no, Mrs. Bear put that one in. And we've got some curly kale, some spearmint. This is coriander. This stuff grows like wildfire. We've got some basil, which isn't looking too clever, and we've also got some regular mint there. So some of my stuff then, this is just a plastic greenhouse Mrs. Bear bought for me. Just to keep my tools in, some knickknacks, keep the rain off if you fancy coming down, having a cup of tea on the quiet and having a couple of cigarettes and just chilling out down here. All well and good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set you up on the tripod because nobody likes a shaky camera, and I'll just run through a couple of bits and pieces with you. Okay then. So right off the bat then I took a few notes just so I didn't miss anything off then. So waiting list for an allotment, it does vary from council to council. I was on my waiting list for a year, so not very long at all before a plot became available, so you do have to be prepared to wait, unfortunately. People take allotments on all the time, realise they're too much work, and then they hand them back because they just can't keep up with the demand of the land that they're working with. So it was 1 year for me, happy days. In terms of cost, This is, I'll just pan you around. This section here is all mine. So this is a quarter size plot, so we've got 3, 4, 5 beds. So you're not going to feed the world with what I've got, but what I do have, you can grow a few things, and it's just a nice place to come down. I know absolutely nothing about gardening, I'll be completely honest with you. So I've come down here and I must have made myself look a complete idiot with the other people that are down here with some of the silly questions I've been asking, because I just don't know. Having said that, the people that are on site are really, really friendly. I've had coffee with a couple of people, they're all very chatty. I've had some free plants from my neighbours, so big thank you to Helen, Mac, Mike, Peter who's running the site, and everyone else that I've met on site so far. It's a really, really welcoming environment, everyone's really helpful, so ask questions, keep asking questions, okay? So in terms of tools then, so you are going to need a few tools, so just some basics. A rake, a hoe. A hoe is actually more useful than you might think, just for wicking the weeds in, digging them into the soil, covering them. If they're not perennial, so if they're yearly, cut them off and just bury them in the soil. They'll rot down and they'll add nutrients back into the soil. Perennial weeds are the bane of my existence. As fast as I pull them out, they come back again because they've got the long strandy root things. I did have a long one on the ground. Yeah. So this is a perennial weed. This stuff, you'll notice it's quite long, and as fast as you pull them out, they're just going to come back again. So unless you're willing to use glyphosate weed killer on the site before you start planting, you're going to have a nightmare with those. You can only kill them off by pulling the whole thing out, and what sort of comes up about this long out the soil is usually about that long with a great big long white root, and if you don't get the whole thing, it's just going to pop up again in a couple of days time. Absolute pain in the backside, but you've just got to work with what you've got. So when I first took the site on, the ground was extremely hard. It was covered in what's called bindweed, so it's like a grassy material, and it is, you tear it out in clumps. It is really difficult to sort of try and pull out. I bought a spade and a fork. I bent the spade, I bent the fork, the ground was extremely tough. So if you're taking one on, there's something called a mattock. Basically it's like a pickaxe, but it's got a wider blade on the end of it. It's probably about that wide on the tip of it. And you can literally whack it into the soil and you can rip great big chunks out of the ground with this mattock. They're about £30. Without the mattock, which I borrowed off my parents, I wouldn't have been able to do this. It would have taken me a lot longer. Extremely good bit of kit if you're taking on an allotment. So for the first few days then, it was literally pulling out the bindweed, ripping all the horrible nasty bits out of the soil and trying to break the soil down. There was a fair amount of clay in my soil. You can see there's some smaller clumps there. My brother-in-law gave me some topsoil, which was very handy. We've mixed all that in. I've put some bark around by the fruit trees to stop or try and prevent the weeds coming up as much. And the bed at the back, that is quite clumpy at the moment. We've not done anything with that. That's just started doing not a huge amount. So this is 2.5 months work. Okay, this has taken 2.5 months of on and off coming down here with the lawnmower, with the pickaxe, me and Mrs. Bear. It's taken quite a bit of work, quite a lot of effort, but I think we're getting there. So hopefully next year things should be marginally easier to contend with. What I would say is don't expect miracles. You're going to walk onto the allotment and there's going to be somebody that's got an immaculate plot. They've got a little picket fence, perfectly manicured grass, all the plants are coming up, everything's all set up and ready. Do not expect that when you turn up on site for your plot. It is going to be a mess. You're going to be, oh my god, this is going to take some work, some serious work to get this up and running properly. But do it in small chunks. Don't just come down and hammer it all day long, because you'll end up resenting the fact that you've got an allotment. Little enough to just come down, do a bit, put your tools down, go home, come back another day. This is supposed to be an enjoyable type of experience, so don't try and do it all in one go. It's not going to happen. So cost. So my allotment is £50 for the year, which is, in the grand scheme of things, nothing. You do need to get some bits and pieces on site when you first turn up. So if you can see my borders just down there, they're all starting to rot. They've been there a long time. So what I have been doing, I'll just pick you up, as you'll notice, this fresher timber just along here. This is all pallets, wooden pallets. I've just sawn them up and I've driven them into the ground. You can try and be fancy and you can try and screw them all together. What I found, it doesn't work. So all I've done is I've just cut bits of wood off, and I've got small wooden stakes, and I've literally just driven those into the ground. So there's no screws involved, and you get much the same effect. So pallets are a godsend. You should never have to pay for pallets. You can get them free. Gumtree, Facebook. I went to my local Euro parts, car parts store, and they had pallets in the car park. I went in and I said, are these going spare? And they said, yeah, if you want them, you take them. They're a pain, they don't want them. So put a saw in the boot of your car, if you've got a small car like me, chop them up, and there you go, you've got yourself some free edging. Even if you only get a couple of years out of it, pallets come up all the time. So pallets, grab as many as you can. Fantastic. What else have we had? So we've also had a large composting bin there. The plastic box was what we started off with to put the tools, and we bought that. That was £35. That's a Keter storage box. You can sit on that as well. The water butt was free. We've had a few other freebies as well. So don't bog yourself down with cost. Okay. Chances are you can get free water butts, free compost bins. I mean, my strawberry plants are free. Just keep scouring. Bearing in mind this shouldn't have to be an expensive hobby. Just keep looking online and the right thing will come up. One thing I have made, I'm going to put some netting on this. This is just going to be a frame. I'm going to put some net over it to stop the pigeons, because the pigeons have attacked my cabbage plants. They stripped them bare. It's my fault for not covering them up, I suppose. But yeah, all this is, it's just pallets. I've got some wooden stakes, sawed some pallets up. This is MDP pipe, so this is flexible water pipe. You just cut it, bend it how you want it, zip tie it, screw it, and then I'm just going to put some netting over the top of that, and that's going to keep my vegetables hopefully safe from attack from the birds. Nets then, so scaffold netting is the sort of preferred net of choice. It's strong, it's, you know, you're going to get a few years worth of use out of it. It is initially an expensive outlay. I picked up a 50 metre roll, so it's 50 metres by 2 metres wide. It's quite thin, the stuff I got. It's not exactly what I wanted, but it'll do for now. That was about £40. You can buy them at Builders Merchants. I got mine from Screwfix. I paid about £40 for the roll, so there is a little bit of expense there. The plastic greenhouse, Mrs. Bear picked me up. I think that was about £50, something like that. I'm not expecting much longevity out of it, if I'm honest, because it is just ultimately just a plastic construction. So yeah, if I do get more than a couple of years out of it, I'll be pleasantly surprised. So the biggest expense you're looking at is sheds. You should have a shed. If you've got an allotment, you must have a shed somewhere you can go and sit with your cup of tea, just watch the world go by. Basic wooden sheds in B&Q, they start at about £100. They're absolute waste of time. They're so thin, I wouldn't even bother. If you can save up, if you can, you know, hold your one to save your money. Keter, they make plastic sheds. You can get a 4x3 shed, which is adequate to sit in. You can also put your tools and a few other odds and sods in it. Make sure you weigh it down, put some paving slabs in the bottom of it just to stop it blowing away. But for £250, I've had one in my back garden for about 5 years now. I've put it up, I've done nothing with it since. I've just left it alone. You don't need any paint, it doesn't leak, it doesn't rot, it's just plastic. So that would be my shed of choice. What else have we got then? Oops. So, like I said earlier, I know nothing about gardening whatsoever. I've come down here and made myself look a complete idiot. I've raised a few eyebrows with people wondering what on earth I'm doing down here. I'll just say that, I'll be honest, I don't know anything. Ask questions, people are more than happy to help. There's a book, you know, you can get these dummies guides, you know, IT and all that. They do a dummies guide to allotments. It's about 15-20 quid. Mrs. Bear bought me a copy. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I take it to work, I read it on nights, you know, you can read it whilst you're on the loo. It should tell you pretty much everything that you could possibly want to know, everything from how to do your soil pH, which I haven't done yet, down to all of your vegetables, like optimum growing conditions, when to pick them, when to sow them, all the good stuff. So yeah, if you fancy an allotment, by all means put your name down on the council list one. Just be prepared for a hell of a lot of work from the get-go. These are not easy off the bat. You're never going to walk onto an immaculate plot. Chances are it's going to be severely overgrown and you're going to need help. It's at 2 of us to do this, and this is a small plot, so you can imagine well, that larger plot down by the gate, how long that would have taken me to do. So I hope you found this reasonably useful. Like I say, I'm a complete noob to allotments, but I think we're making a go of it. So just be prepared to put the work in. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.